So this is the continuation of FOM 11, Chapter 7, lesson or Section 4. We're just going to finish off the last three examples. And the next example says, determine the standard form equation of the following parabola. Well, the trick to this is, well, it's not really a trick, but the way to solve this is sort of take a look at, take a look at what the x-intercepts are. That's -1 and +4. So if my answers are -1 and +4, then right away then I know that the beginning of my parabola looks something like this. A, x +1, right? Because if this is my answer, or my root, then it's going to be the opposite sign. And this is +4, so it's going to be x -4. And you're all halfway there. Okay? The only other thing is that how do I determine what the a value is? And the a value in my previous lessons determines if the parabola is upside down, which it is, and if it's thick or thin, or fat or wide, right? And so all we have to do is just choose a point, and I sort of see a point here, and hopefully you can read that. That is an x value of 0 and a y value of 12. So what we can do is, well, if a y value, let me just point that as a point, use that as a point. So it's x equals 0, y equals 12, right? Well, we know an x and a y. Well, we can just plug it in. So my y value is a 12 is equal to a, well, 0. I can plug in a 0 here and a 0 here. All I have is a 1, right? 0 plus 1 is 1 times 0 minus 4. So that's 12 is equal to 1 times -4 is -4. -4 times a. Oh, how do I solve for a? Ah, that's easy. We do the opposite, right? If it's multiplication, we divide. So we divide both sides by -4. And my handwriting is getting crappier. Oh, a is equal to -3, right? 12 divided by -4 is -3. And just like we predicted, we knew that the parabola is upside down. We just don't know if it's thinner or fat. But it's hard to tell based on a graph. Okay? So again, look for the zeros. And it's just the opposite sign. So it's -1. So it's x plus 1. +4, it's x minus 4. Finding a, well, all you have to do is use any point. I just happened to find one that was sort of easy to read. You could have used any one of these points. Just pick one that makes life easier for you. Okay? All right, next example. Next example says a length of a soccer field is 20 meters less than its width. Its area is 6,000 square meters. Find its dimensions. Well, sometimes it makes life easier if you can actually just draw a picture. Well, first of all, it says it's a soccer field, okay? If I said this was the, let's say this was the length and this is the width, right? Okay. It says the length of the soccer field is 20 meters less than twice the width. Oh. Well, if this is length and it's twice, it's 20 meters less than twice its width, well, I'm going to double the width. And then I'm going to subtract 20, right? And when you convert English to math, it's usually kind of backwards. So it says it's twice the width, and it's 20 meters less. So I have an expression of this, right? And then I have this expression here as well. Now, it says the area is 6,000 square meters. Well, hopefully you remember area is equal to length times width. And we know length is, well, this expression here. 2w minus 20. And then w, well, that's just w. And we know that's 6,000. Oops, forgot a bracket. So I'm going to just distribute. So this is 2w squared minus 20w is equal to 6,000. And, you know, algebra is basically setting everything equal to 0. I'm going to move that over. 2w squared minus 20w minus 6,000. Okay. So in my previous lessons, part A or part B, I forget, is this 1? An a value of 1? No, it isn't. So what we're going to do is I'm going to factor it out. So now if I factor, I'm really dividing, right? So I'm dividing. So it's going to be 1w squared. Look at that. That's helpful. Minus 10w minus 3,000. So at this point, I'm going to draw my little x, and I'm going to ask you, hey, can you come up with two numbers that add to -10 and multiply to -3,000? Okay, so that's a little harder to do because the numbers are a little bigger, but I mean, you can almost sort of try it out. I'm going to try, what is it, 30, no. Nah, you know what? I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to use Desmos. Right? I'm going to use Desmos, and I'm just going to plug in this 2w squared. And I can't use w's, but I can use x's. So it's y equals 2x squared minus 20x minus 6,000. Now notice I can't see the graph, but what I can do is I can like zoom out. Oh, there you go. Ah, negative 50 and 60. Those are my x values, negative 50 and 60. So eventually I would have figured out that, oh, negative 60, positive 50, if we multiplied them, we'd multiply to 3,000, negative 3,000 I should say, and if we were to add them, it would add to negative 10. Okay, so now, our variable is w this time, so it's w minus 60, w plus 50. Excuse me. All right, what are my roots? Oh, w has to be the opposite sign of this, so it's going to be positive 60 meters or negative 50 meters. Well, hopefully you would think, okay, positive 60, that makes sense. But can you have a negative distance? Ah, no you can't. So we know width is 60 meters, except you're not done. It's asking for the dimensions. So you need to find length as well. Well, now we know what now we know what w is, but we have an expression that says if you happen to know w, all you have to do is double it. So what's doubling 60? Well, that's 120 minus 20. So what's 120 minus 20? Well, that's the length. So that's going to be 2 times 60 minus 20. And if you use the calculator, that gives you 100 meters. And that's the dimensions of this particular soccer field. Okay? In our last example, I'm going to omit actually, so I won't test you on that. And that concludes lesson 4, chapter 7.